You take out your phone. You open the camera. Without thinking, you point it at something beautiful and press the button. This feels new. It is not. 40,000 years ago, someone crawled into the back of a cave, lit a torch, and did almost the exact same thing. But the real answer for why they did it is far stranger than art.
For over a century, people assumed cave paintings were decoration. Pretty pictures on a wall. Something to do in the dark. But the deeper researchers dig, the less that explanation holds up. These images are not in living spaces. They are not near the cave entrances where people slept and ate. They are buried deep inside, past narrow crawl spaces, past total darkness, in chambers a person could only reach by squeezing through rock on their hands and knees.
Why would anyone go that far just to draw a horse?
Start with the location. Archaeologist Jean Klotz, who spent decades studying painted caves in France, found that the deepest and most dangerous chambers were not accidents of geography. They were chosen. The artists climbed past easier, flatter walls near the entrance and kept going, sometimes for over a kilometer underground, to reach specific spots. Spots with strange acoustics. Spots where a torch flame would flicker against a bulge in the rock and make an animal seem to move.
That detail matters because the animals were not just painted on flat stone. They were painted onto the shape of the stone. A natural curve in the wall becomes the hump of a bison's back. A crack becomes the line of a mammoth's tusk. The artist was not ignoring the rock. They were listening to it. They were finding the animal that was already there and pulling it out with charcoal and ochre.
This is where the story stops being about art and starts being about belief.
Anthropologist David Lewis Williams proposed something that changed how researchers think about these caves entirely. He studied the deep, sensory-deprived environment these paintings were made in. Total darkness, echoing silence, physical exhaustion from the climb, and connected it to what neuroscience knows about altered states of consciousness. In extreme darkness and isolation, the human brain does not go blank. It starts generating light patterns, geometric shapes, pulsing shimmer. Some researchers believe the earliest markings in these caves, dots, zigzags, grids, are not failed attempts at animals. They are direct records of what the brain does to itself when it is starved of stimulation.
In other words, before humans learned to paint what they saw, they may have painted what they felt.
Layer onto that the location itself. A cave is not neutral space. It is not simply inside. For a species that spent its entire evolutionary history under open sky, a cave is a wound in the earth, a passage into somewhere that should not exist. Many hunter-gatherer societies studied by anthropologists, including groups in southern Africa researched extensively by Lewis Williams himself, describe caves and rock walls not as barriers, but as membranes, thin places, where the world of animals and spirits presses up close to the world of the living, and where a skilled person, often a shaman, a healer, someone the group trusted to walk that edge, could reach through.
If that is even partly true, the cave was never a canvas. It was a doorway. That reframes almost everything you thought you knew about these images. The horses, the bison, the mammoths, the lions are not paintings of animals seen from a distance. They may be animals being called, summoned onto the surface between worlds so that the hunt might succeed, so that the herd might return, so that the balance between human hunger and animal life might hold for one more season. And here is where it gets stranger. Some of the most striking images in these caves are not full animals at all. They are partial, a single eye, a haunch, a leg emerging from a crack in the stone as if the rest of the creature is still inside the rock, still arriving. Archaeologists have long debated why. But if the wall itself was understood as a membrane, an unfinished animal is not a mistake. It is a moment caught mid-passage. The artist was not drawing a bison. The artist was drawing a bison in the act of becoming real.
There is also the question of the hands. In cave after cave, across tens of thousands of years and thousands of miles, researchers keep finding the same image: a human hand pressed flat against the stone, outlined in pigment blown from the mouth, not painted with a brush, breathed into place. Some of these hand stencils belong to children. Some belong to people missing fingers, whether from frostbite, disease, or deliberate ritual. We still do not fully know. What we do know is that this was not incidental. Someone chose, again and again, across an almost unimaginable stretch of time, to leave the mark of their own body on the wall of the world beneath the world. Think about what that means. This was not an artist signing a masterpiece. This may have been a person saying, quite literally, I was here. I touched this. I reached through.
Now, bring this back to you, standing in your kitchen with your phone raised. You are not thinking about spirit membranes when you take a photo of a sunset, but you are doing something oddly similar. You are taking a moment that is slipping away. Light, color, a fleeting arrangement of the world, and you are fixing it in place so it cannot fully disappear. Now, bring this back to you, standing in your kitchen with your phone raised. You are not thinking about spirit membranes when you take a photo of a sunset, but you are doing something oddly similar. You are taking a moment that is slipping away. Light, color, a fleeting arrangement of the world, and you are fixing it in place so it cannot fully disappear. You are saying, without words, I was here. This happened. Let this outlast the moment it came from. Psychologist and memory researcher Endel Tulving described this uniquely human ability as mental time travel, the capacity to project yourself forward and backward through time, to imagine a future self looking back on a present moment. Your ancestors in that cave were doing an early, urgent version of exactly that. They were not just recording an animal, they were reaching forward, past their own death, past the death of everyone they knew, to make sure something of that moment would survive the dark. It worked. It is still working. 30,000 years later, you can stand in a museum or scroll past a photograph on a screen and feel a version of what they were reaching for. Not the animal itself, the reach.
This is the part that should genuinely unsettle you a little. Every video you upload, every photo you post, every voice memo you leave for no one in particular, it is not a modern invention layered on top of ancient life. It is the same impulse, running uninterrupted, from a torchlit chamber deep underground to the device in your pocket right now. You crawl through your own kind of darkness too sometimes. A bad year, a breakup, a diagnosis, a quiet 3 a.m. you didn't ask for. And somewhere in that darkness, something in you still reaches for the wall, still wants to leave a mark that says the animal was real, the feeling was real, I was real, even after the torch goes out.
You take out your phone, you point it at something beautiful, and without knowing it, you press your hand flat against the same wall your ancestors did 40,000 years ago, in the deepest part of the dark, reaching for the same thing you are.